Welcome to the Soft Life with Saddie Baddies. Saddie Baddies is the antidote to mental health stigma, and this podcast is hosted by yours truly, Priscilla O. Adjaman. We are a virtual sanctuary centering Black and multiracial people, and we prioritize the mental and emotional nourishment that is the foundation of collective healing in our communities. Thank you for being here. Welcome back, baddies. I hope you're all easing into your week with softness. A lot of you resonated with last week's episode on incorporating softness into your life, which just makes me so happy. And that's why I'm here, is to remind you of how worthy you are. As always, we can't grow this podcast without you. So if you've already provided us with a review or rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. This may seem like a small effort, but it truly does support and grow our community. So keep downloading and sharing. Today's episode is a juicy one. We are talking all about friendship breakups, how to heal from them, and how to make new friends as an adult. We've definitely talked about friendship breakups and toxic friendships on our Instagram before, but there's only so much you can share in a 10-slide carousel post. So today we're diving deep and getting real. Before I share my own experiences with friendship breakups, I also want to just shed some light on why they are such a big deal. In some scenarios, friendship breakups can feel even more painful than a breakup with a romantic partner because friends are such an integral part of our lives and our well-being. And so much so that studies actually show that people with strong social support are overall healthier in life. So social connection is very important to us as humans, as we know. Honestly, ending a long-term friendship can feel like you're losing a part of yourself, especially if it was a childhood or early adulthood friendship. So, why do we break up with our besties sometimes? As we mature, develop, and evolve throughout our lives, we begin to analyze the people around us and evaluate how they contribute to our lives. And breaking up with a friend can invite feelings of sadness, of worry, even grief and loneliness, because when it's with somebody you've known for such a long time or even decades, it feels like a part of you is missing. Sometimes, though, you just outgrow each other, and sometimes there's a difference in values or beliefs that just cannot be overlooked or compromised. Sometimes it's a bitter falling out, and sometimes you just reach the end of your stick of not being able to tolerate disrespect anymore in that friendship. Or sometimes it's betrayal and in having your trust broken by your friend, which hurts so badly. I've experienced all three of these types of friendship breakups, and each one hurts differently. Each breakup can also take a different amount of time to heal, and just remember that healing is not linear, it's cyclical. So, what are some signs that you may need to break up with a friend according to psychologists and counselors? Number 1, they constantly put you down or make you feel unworthy. Number 2, your relationship feels one-sided. For example, you might be the only person that contacts them, makes plans, or shows up for them. Number 3, they've shown manipulative or controlling behavior towards you. Number 4, your relationship feels mostly toxic. It just mostly feels negative than positive overall. Number 5, there's jealousy and spitefulness between you that hasn't been addressed. Number 6, the highlights of your friendships are in the past, not the present. Number 7, they are not there for you when you need them to be. Number 8, they don't celebrate your accomplishments, your milestones, or support your growth overall. Number 9, they have seriously betrayed your trust. And number 10, which I think is also overlooked, they have put your life in danger. So, these are 10 signs that there are some major issues in the friendship, and according to psychologists and mental health professionals, these are some of the areas in which a friendship breakup might occur if it's not being addressed within a set amount of time. If it just lingers, this could actually just end the friendship. Okay, so you're probably thinking about some of these things on the list. Maybe someone's come to mind already and you're wondering, okay, how do I actually go about the breakup process? Breaking up with a friend can feel extremely daunting, overwhelming, and painful. However, there are a few ways to go about it gracefully and respectfully. So, number one, if you can, and if you feel safe enough doing so, try to meet them in person. Consider writing down your thoughts beforehand so that you can address it to them with more clarity. And number two, if you're more comfortable, call them on the phone to talk about how you're feeling. I personally think that this method is effective. Just having a conversation with them on the phone, if you're not comfortable seeing them in person, a phone call is kind of your next best thing. And number three, if you are going to go through this friendship breakup, just try to remember to listen to their side as well, because this process will be difficult, most likely for the both of you. Compassion goes both ways. And yes, I do believe that you can still have compassion while maintaining and setting your boundaries with people. So to recap, if you are going to go through a friendship breakup and you're wondering how to actually go about it, number one is, try to meet them in person if you can. Also, try to consolidate your thoughts and think about what you want to share with them, because there could be things under the surface that you've been holding back for years and years and years. Maybe this isn't the best time to bring up all of that in one sitting. Maybe spread it out a little bit and think about what is most relevant to the conversation and why are you actually moving forward with ending the friendship. Number two, if you're a little more comfortable, you can give them a phone call and talk to them over the phone. Texting is obviously, it's a little bit more cold-hearted. I would say that ending a friendship through text it's a little cold-hearted. I personally try to avoid this method because it feels more impersonal. Sometimes though, you just cannot bring yourself to call that person. However, I personally think like a phone call is the next best thing if you can't meet with them in person. And last but not least, just try to remember to listen to them as well and listen with compassion. Okay, now we're going to talk about some of my personal experiences with friendship breakups. For those of y'all who don't know, I am 29 years old, meaning that I have been through a lot of different friendships in my 20s, and I'm going to be 30 this year, which is crazy. And a part of me is very reflective about the types of friendships I've had throughout my 20s. And I started my 20s, being in college still, and now I'm working full time and living my life, basically. So that transition and all those different versions of me also included different groups of friends along the way. So I want to kind of get into, those friendship breakups that I've experienced, how some of them hit harder than others, but at the end of the day, all of them did teach me very valuable lessons. Okay, so the first type of friendship breakup I want to describe is the growing apart friendship. So I will start with saying that when I was in college, I met amazing people, and a lot of them I still am friends with to this day. But I did have one friendship in particular that I felt in the beginning we were very close. Me and this person were really close. We did a lot of things together. We hung out a lot. And, it's college. So you go to events together, you go to parties, you study, all that. And I enjoyed it. I do think that at the time I was so young. I was only 18 years old. And when you're that young, it's not that you don't have a sense of self, but you are developing your sense of self. So there were a lot of things, obviously, that when I was 18 years old that I tolerated that I wouldn't tolerate now, being an adult and being a grown woman. Some of those things that I tolerated from that friendship was I allowed that friend to be the main person that made decisions in what we were going to do or how we were going to spend our day if I was spending time with them. I also allowed this friend to dump on me emotionally without any type of boundary setting. So, it didn't matter if I had to study for an exam or I was busy doing something else. It's like, well, I have problems. I need to tell you everything right now, and you have to listen to me because you're my therapist. I personally have, looking back, I think that I had tried to develop into this role as the strong friend, because in my head I was like, well, if I'm the friend that people can always come to and people can always talk to about their problems, that means that they need me. I must be a great person. And again, I've mentioned this in the first couple episodes. I was a recovering people pleaser in my early 20s. So in that friendship, I think my people pleasing really came out, because I was like, oh, this person needs me. I need to be there for them, yada, yada, yada. So I gave up a lot of my time, a lot of my energy without getting any of that back. Now, here's the thing. I believe that you can be there for your friends. You can hold space for your friends. You can listen to them and give them advice. That's what friends are for. And I do that for my friends now. My friends do that for me now. But at that time, it was one-sided. That's what I want to make clear. It was a one-sided type of relationship where I was the one that was always on the listening end. I was the one that was always giving advice, but I was never able to be vulnerable and transparent about how I was feeling. And additionally, at that time, when I was about 19 to like 21, that was when I was really experiencing my major bouts with anxiety. And I had nobody to talk to. And it sucked because I had friends, but I didn't feel comfortable enough sharing and being vulnerable and open with them about it. But some of those shortcomings about that friendship taught me that, I understood that this person wasn't the best listener, and maybe they just didn't know how to hold space for me. And whenever I would try to share how I was feeling mentally or emotionally, there was definitely a bit of like toxic positivity. There was definitely like, oh girl, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. You're strong. You'll get over it. And that was kind of the end of the conversation. It was really not, a moment of, oh wow, like how are you feeling about this? Can we like talk about this more? I want to know more about how you're feeling. The convo would just kind of shift back to them and what they were going through. And after several years of being in that friendship and realizing how one-sided it was, I started to realize that it's not healthy for me to be in a friendship like this, because I have so much love to give, and I deserve to have that poured back into me, and I deserve to have balanced relationships. I deserve to have a balanced friendship. So all in all, how did this friendship end? Because this friendship went on for several years, even after college. And I took it upon myself to end the friendship because I realized I couldn't see myself growing together in this friendship. Outside of the friendship being one-sided and unbalanced, we really did start to be very different people. After college, we really started to go our own paths. Like we had completely different interests. We had very different lifestyles. We lived in different cities. So it felt like literally there was more and more distance between us, so much so that in conversations, I felt like I couldn't really share anything with them. I couldn't really, talk about what I was going through or what I was interested in. This is also during the time I had started Saddie Baddies, and I was so excited about it, but I just didn't feel like I could share that enthusiasm with them. And it is what it is. It doesn't mean that that person is terrible or an awful person. It just means that you're growing apart. And I think that neutrality really helped me to heal from that friendship and not point fingers or feel like that person was evil to me or badmouth them or anything like that. It is what it is. It was a neutral ending, and it was a natural ending of a friendship. Okay, so the next friendship breakup I want to talk about is when somebody disrespects you or somebody betrays your trust. This friendship for me felt more like a heartbreak than anything, because this person I was really close with, very, very close with, and spent a lot of time with as well. So long story short, I had asked them to respect a boundary that I placed, and they completely ignored that boundary. actually got very angry when I tried to set that boundary with them. And in the end, we realized that we couldn't continue moving past this hunch, because it was something that was so important to me that it really hurt to know, like, wow, I'm asking you to do something very simple and respect my boundary, and the fact that you refuse to and actually don't want to see where I'm coming from and don't want to understand that this means something to me, even if it's not important to you. It hurt, and it was painful. It was really painful, because this was someone I was really, really close with, and I had a hard time letting go of that friendship. I knew that if I allowed this type of disrespect to continue over and over again, that I was always going to be resentful. I was always going to hold him against it and say, well, you did this to me. You disrespected a boundary that I really, asked you to hold for me, and you couldn't do that. That was really hard, because I really, really cared about this person. And unfortunately, I had to also be the one to explain to them, I love and care about you, but I can't trust you anymore. And also, I feel disrespected because I've asked you to honor this boundary that I set. And unfortunately, like, you have not been able to do that for me. And I really needed you to do that for me. And it was painful. It's still, like, to be honest with you, it's still something that I'm like, wow, like, I really had to, set that hard boundary. We talked about it. We had a couple conversations about it over the phone. I actually said, like, I do forgive you, but this also does mean that I'm going to have to, like, end our friendship, because I can't trust you anymore. That was the hard part of saying, I forgive you, but I can't trust you, and I can no longer be friends with you. I do think that for me to say that, and being the kind of person I was at the time, a very loving person, I still am, but I was very overly giving. I was the overgiver in a lot of my friendships. So for me to choose myself for once was huge. That was huge for me. I never thought I had the courage to do that, or I always felt like I should always be giving other people a chance versus somebody respecting something that I've asked them to do. So for me to do that was huge, and I'm honestly proud of myself. I think looking back, it's been a few years now, I'm proud of myself for being able to set that boundary and being able to say, no, I choose myself, and I wish you the best. I love you, but I can't continue this friendship. And that's the reality of friendship breakups. Sometimes it's not clean cut, sometimes it's messy, but other times it's painful, and you have to decide what you want out of the situation. Do you want to still be friends with them? Do you just want to be acquaintances and, just be cordial with them, or do you really need to remove this person out of your life because they have crossed a line that you cannot just forget about? All right. Last but not least, we're going to talk about the type of friendship breakup that is not, like, confrontational. I think this type of friendship breakup, which I call ghosting, and we all know what ghosting is in dating, but ghosting in a friendship is weird, to say the least. This type of friendship breakup that I went through with ghosting, essentially, it was one of those scenarios where I was very close with this person, very, very, very close with this person, spent a lot of time with them, spent a lot of space with them, and felt very much like, okay, this is my bestie, this is my BFF, like, all the things. Looking back and in retrospect, there were definitely some issues and red flags in the friendship. I think that my lack of boundary setting with this friendship was really, really detrimental, because I allowed this person to, again, decide on a lot of things of what we were going to do as as friends, or how we were going to spend our time. There was also a lot of inner conflict, I think, within this friendship, because I was also going through a really, really hard time. I was also not as self-aware. I was definitely naive. And I am not afraid to say that I was definitely naive in this friendship, because I felt like me and this person, we're so close, we're so tight, we have all these similarities, and everything's cool. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if they aren't there for me when I need them. It doesn't matter if they talk poorly about other people when I'm around, and they gossip about other people when I'm around. That doesn't mean that they're going to say anything negative about me. It doesn't matter if this person has issues with everybody around them. That doesn't mean that's going to happen with me. So I was definitely naive in the fact that I was watching the behavioral patterns of this person, but I never took a chance to say, hey, maybe if this is the character of this person, why do I feel like I'm exempt from that? Why do I feel like I'm never going to get that type of treatment or that type of like reaction from them just because we're friends? That's where I was wrong. I also think that in this friendship, in order to preserve it, I avoided confrontation with this person a lot. I avoided a lot of confrontation. And the few times I was confrontational with them, it was very much so not... we didn't come to an understanding afterwards. If I ever had an issue with them, or if I talked to them about like, hey, I don't really appreciate when you cancel plans like very last minute, or you are only talking about what's going on in your life, but literally do not ask me what's going on with mine. And I'm also going through shit just like everybody else, when I did confront them about these things and other issues as well, but it was never something like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I understand. I'm receptive to that feedback, and here's how I can make a change, or we can make a change. It was very much a defensive response, or like a stonewalling response. So those were things that I started to notice. Like, I couldn't be as transparent and honest as I wanted to with this person. Long story short, we ended up drifting apart, but not in the way where it was like, oh, we have different life paths and we have different lifestyles. It was actually the opposite. We had pretty similar interests, and we had a lot of things in common. So it didn't feel like we were just growing apart, or we didn't have anything to talk about. It was like a slow burn. We eventually stopped speaking to each other. And that was the weird thing, because as soon as we kind of stopped speaking to each other, or we stopped checking in on each other via text, then came this like digital cleanse as well, where it was just like one day, like, I'm not following them, they're not following me. Like, you if you've been through any type of breakup, romantic or platonic, and you go through that phase of like unfollowing and unfriending and all of that. So that's when it became clear that our friendship was over. And I think the weird thing about being in a digital age is how many of these moments in our lives, in our personal lives, happen online. And the fact that I got closure of that friendship by knowing that this person had unfollowed me, and vice versa, without ever speaking to them, is crazy to me. But I do think it's just it's the age that we're in, it's the society we're in. And a lot of these things happen virtually. These breakups happen virtually. They don't always happen in real life. So we never talked about it. And I think my last encounter with this person, I did try to ask, like, hey, is there something wrong? Like, is everything good? And they were pretty vague about it. They said they were moving, and I was like, okay. And that was pretty much it. Like, it fizzled out, honestly. And we were friends for over 5 years. I think the part that took the longest to heal from that friendship was knowing that we never had closure. And I think that that's the part that was difficult, was like the what ifs. It's like, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if we talked about it, you know? And I think also the fact that none of us really, either of us tried to mend the friendship. Neither of us tried to be like, hey, I need to talk to you. Let's talk about this. Let's meet up. Let's chat. It felt like we both just wanted to move on from the fact that we were no longer close. And that was the part that was painful. I think it was hard to watch myself go through being super, super close with this person and spending a lot of time with them. I would say out of like a lot of my friends, I had spent probably the most time with this person out of all my friends. So it was just very strange to just like abruptly like have that end. And then again, you go through the digital cleanse, you start deleting pictures and like the old text thread and all of that. And it feels so, it feels dramatic, honestly, but it's painful and it hurts, but I allowed myself to feel those feelings. It took me over a year, if I'm being honest, to really fully get through that friendship breakup, because it was very painful, it was very awkward, and there was no closure. Now, y'all, now we need to talk about making new friends as an adult, because I've talked about, you know, what is a friendship breakup, what friendship breakups are like, my own friendship breakup experiences, and hopefully you took something away from that and appreciate me being so vulnerable. But now we're going to talk about making new friends as an adult. This, to me, is a huge part of the healing process. What I want to emphasize in this episode in particular is that losing friends or having your social circle change, it does cause a lot of discomfort, if we're being honest. What we don't want to do, though, is limit ourselves from making new, healthy connections and cut off your support system completely. This episode is not cut off all your friends, cut off everybody, you know, cut. I'm not trying to do that. I don't promote that. I think that just cutting people off like in bulk like that is actually a red flag. And I don't think you should just cut off your support system entirely at the same time. I think naturally as we grow and we get older and we evolve, there are people in our lives that do not, like, they no longer fit in that version of our life or this chapter of our life. Just naturally, that's the way humans are. However, I do think it's important to keep our hearts open and learn how to make new connections, because we're human, we're interdependent, we do need each other, we thrive on social connection. We don't need to cut every single person off that bothers us or disagrees with us, but rather, as we learn more about our boundaries and what our expectations are in relationships, it's easier to identify that in others along the way. So the more that you're in tune with yourself, and this is why, you know, doing the work and going to therapy is so helpful and so important, because it does help you to process these relationships in your life. I know that for me, when I was going through my friendship, sorry, y'all. I know that for me, when I was going through my friendship breakups, I definitely spoke about them in therapy a lot, and it really helped me to process, you know, the loss of those friendships, how it's changed me. But I do think that going to therapy and helping me process them has allowed me to make so many new friends and so many beautiful connections. And I want to share, you know, how can you make new friends while you're adulting? We're all busy. We're all, you know, going through our own thing. We're all going through this, you know, shift in our 20s, our 30s, our 40s, wherever you're at. But how do you make new friends as an adult? Number one is to be open-minded. Reconnecting with old friends and strengthening those bonds, meeting friends of friends while you're out, whatever your scenario is, being open-minded to the fact that you can have friends as an adult is going to allow you to be more expansive with your approach. Personally, I've realized that there are people in my lives that I had known for years, but I was, you know, kind of more acquaintances with them, or I just knew them in passing over the years. And naturally and organically, I've just said, hey, you know, let's meet up for coffee. Let's go grab a drink. Let's get dinner. And over time, those relationships they naturally get stronger and stronger. I know people that I went to high school with that in high school we were literally teenagers, and we weren't as close, but now as adults they are some of my closest friends, and we all live in the city and we hang out. Like I saw literally a couple of them last night, and it's great to know that you can also grow with people, even if it's not parallel to your growth. Sometimes it's perpendicular, so it doesn't matter at what stage. Reconnecting with old friends and just being open-minded about rekindling friendships or starting new friendships, that's number one. Number two, going out to events and meeting new people. I think this is probably one of the easiest ways to meet new friends. I've definitely met a lot of new friends this way. I met one of my close friends now by going to an event, and we were both at this event. I actually went to the event by myself. It was like a wellness event a few years ago, pre-pandemic, and we're like we were one of like the only two Black girls in the room. Just being honest, that's sometimes how wellness events are, but it's okay. It was a fun event, but we were one of like very few like Black girls in the room, and we just naturally gravitated towards each other. It was so funny. Like we literally just like ended up like talking to each other at the end of the night, and like exchanging numbers. And now we are very close, and I think it's dope that relationship also organically became more and more nourished over time. That was over 2 years ago. It wasn't like, oh, let's hang out and be best friends and tell each other everything all at once. It was gradual. We started kind of hanging out more in group settings, and then we would hang out one-on-one. And it's a natural, organic closeness that you develop with this person. So if you're in a city, especially a city like New York, or even if you're in DC, if you're in LA, wherever you are, or if you're, in a different country, if you're in Brazil, if you're in Kenya, Nigeria, I know we have a lot of listeners from all over the world. Wherever you are, find spaces and events or parties or gatherings where you can meet new people. I think that's the simplest way of meeting and cultivating connection. It's just going out and meeting new people. Number 3 is to slide in DMs. I think that sliding in people's DMs that you could be potentially friends with it feels intimidating, but it's really not that deep. To me, it's one of the easiest ways to make a connection with somebody. I also have met quite a few friends online through Instagram or through social media. And at first they're like your internet friends, and they're just people that you respond to their stories or their comments, or, you share things with them on Instagram or whatever platform you're using. But there are quite a few people, maybe there's a handful of people that are like, no, I actually would hang out with this person. I would actually like go get coffee with them. I would actually like go to an event with them. Those are the people I think that surprise you. I've met a friend this way, like years ago, 4 years ago or so. I was following this friend of mine, and she knows who she is if she's listening. And she posted something on her story like, I want to meet new girlfriends. Like, I'm definitely down to make new friends this summer. And I just responded. I was like, yeah, same here, me too. And little by little, we just started hanging out. And again, 4 years later, we're still friends. We still hang out. We still talk to each other and check up on each other. We both live in New York. And I just think it's great that it could really be that simple, So if you're looking for new friends and you are struggling with like loneliness, or you're struggling with like making new connections, I don't think there's anything wrong with like finding people that you're already following and being like, hey, would you like to get coffee? Would you like to meet up? I think that is so sincere, and maybe people feel awkward doing it. I don't care. I'm an awkward Black girl, so it doesn't bother me. But I think if you really want to make those connections, you're going to have to put the effort into it. And last but not least is to be intentional. This is probably one of the hardest parts about making new friends as an adult, because we are all so busy. We're all doing things, we have jobs, careers, kids, all that. So being intentional about setting plans with people is hard. I myself have, sometimes been the person to have to cancel last minute because something comes up, or I'm exhausted, or I just don't have the energy, or I have too many deadlines to meet. I've been that person, and that's okay. Life happens. However, if you make plans with someone that, especially somebody new that you're getting to know, I think it is best to try to honor those plans if you can. Not saying you have to swear by them, and if something comes up, you shouldn't feel like terrible if you need to take care of things, but it's okay if you have to reschedule or you're not in the right headspace to make an effort to show up. But just be intentional. If you really do want to meet new people, or if somebody is reaching out to spend time with you, being intentional and saying, hey, yes, let's do this. Or, hey, yes, let's try to make a date 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, whatever your bandwidth is. I think that shows that you are making an effort and that you care. And it shows that you want to show up. It shows that you want to get to know this person. So those are the 4 ways that you can, try to start making new friends as an adult. And yeah, so let's kind of recap everything that we talked about, from friendship breakups, how to make new friends as an adult. So 3 key takeaways. Number 1, friendship breakups do hurt a lot and they take time to heal. So be patient with the process. Number 2, there are different types of friendships, just like there are different types of breakups, or the reasons for those breakups. And it's up to you to decide how you want to navigate or move forward over time with this breakup. And again, if you are really struggling with, a friendship breakup, or it was traumatic for you, definitely seek out counseling and seek out therapy, or talk to somebody, because these are moments of loss in our lives. Even though it is a friendship and it's not a romantic relationship, they still matter. They're still really important connections in our life. So if you need to talk to someone, don't be afraid to talk to your therapist or find a counselor. As always, there's resources on our website, saddiebaddies.com, if you're looking for a therapist or a directory. And last but not least, making new friends as an adult is possible despite our busy schedules. Just remember to stay open and intentional. And all right, y'all, I hope that you took away something from this episode. Honestly, I felt a lot of relief being able to share my different friendship breakups. And I hope that you remember that it's not about who was right or who was wrong or pointing fingers. It's about learning to take what you learn from each friendship breakup and making yourself a better person, even though those lessons might be painful. So sending you all mad love, and until next time, peace. To stay connected, join Saddie Baddies on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and more, and sign up for our monthly newsletter on saddiebaddies.com to stay in the loop. Sending you hella love, and stay soft, baddie.